it's time to get a unique slant on current events from your favorite half-Asian couple. Get ready to know what's happening in the world today with your hosts, Shaine and Nico.
Hey, what's
happening?
You think I know the title of the show by now, right?
Yeah, it's what's going on.
What's going on? Yeah,
Mhm.
that would be a lot more catchy, right? What's going on or something?
Anyway, now we're just wasting people's time.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
All right. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. This is What's Happening, episode 41. I'm Shaine.
And I'm Nico.
And yeah, we're very happy that you join us. Please join us.
All right, people are gonna click on this and then click away immediately.
All right, so yeah, before we start, we just want to say, if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, please subscribe. That'll really help us out a lot, and also like the video. And, share it as well, all that good stuff. Mm-hmm. And also, please rate, comment, and subscribe to our podcast. It should be wherever you're able to listen to podcasts, especially iTunes and Stitcher and Spotify and other podcast platforms that are available.
Yeah, whatever else they are.
Yeah. But also, if you want to support us because you like us, you can support us on PayPal. Here's the link there, but all the links are going to be in the description as well. So yeah, you can support us on PayPal. You can also buy some Liberty tees at libertariancountry.com and use our promo code HAPA for 10% off. I'm wearing one of them right now. If the government says you don't need a gun,
then you need a gun.
Yeah. So there's that. And also Infinite CBD. We both use it. It helps us out a lot. It helps us, relax her anxiety, especially. And then,
like right now,
yeah,
I'm just kidding.
And then with our, especially with my body aches and all that, because I'm so tall people problems.
I wouldn't know.
Yeah, we have short people problems.
I can't.
Can you reach that up there? I got it.
No, the worst part is when you're sitting at a desk or something, mm-hmm. and your feet don't touch the floor. So annoying.
That's kind of funny. So yeah, there's all that stuff that you can support us on.
Yeah, sometimes we used to do the support stuff at the end, but mm-hmm. we're just trying out something new, trying at the beginning instead of at the end. So.
Yeah. So yeah, there's that. So again, thank you so much for joining us, and I guess we'll just get right into it.
Yep.
So yesterday was another Democrat debate.
What was it, the fourth?
Third? Didn't Kamala Harris say this was the sixth
Kamala?
one?
I cannot get over the way that
Kamala, however you say her name.
Kamala, yeah.
Camelot.
But
yeah, so I'm kind of wondering, I don't know how you say her name. I'm sure she gets it all the time, so she's used to it by now. But anyway, yeah. So this is the 15th Democrat debate.
Yeah, whatever it is. I feel like the debates, in the beginning, they were interesting because you're who's actually running,
Yeah.
And what do they have to say? But now it's kind of all right, they need to pick a nominee and then debate Trump, and then it'll be interesting. Up until then.
I don't know. I'm just fed up with all of it. Really,
as you can tell by his Twitter yesterday.
Yeah, because
I was trying to live tweet it, and he was just tweeting videos
mm-hmm.
of reactions, and I'm no one's gonna understand that.
Yeah, I don't know. I was just sick and tired of it, and yes, that does include everyone's bae, Tulsi Gabbard. Fuck that bitch. All of them. I'm just done. I'm done with all of them. I don't give a shit. So I'm just waiting for whoever the nominee is against Trump. That's it. And then I'll watch those two fucking dumb fucks, argue. And yeah, there you go. So I'm ready for all that. I don't give a shit. But other than that.
Do you think the Libertarian nominee will get a chance to debate, or do you think that's not going to happen?
I don't even know. I mean, at this point, I really don't know. I mean, there have been, rare instances, Ross Perot being the big example, but I mean, it would be nice if there was a third person or even
a third party.
Yeah, or whatever. Something. But I mean, we know how that goes. I don't know. I mean,
yeah, it was funny because he wasn't paying attention most of the debate or whatever, so I was the one paying attention. But then it got to the point where they were talking about gun control because that's the video you have, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then he started yelling at the TV. I'm like, oh, I didn't know you were paying attention.
Yeah, it was. I don't know. The whole thing just kind of pissed me off. And I'd feel the same way if I was listening to Republicans. I'd just be like, I just don't care. Because I mean, Bill Weld and Joe Walsh had their debate, but nobody even knows. Like really, there was a Republican debate. Like yeah, because they're trying to.
Like who even cares though?
Yeah, exactly.
Why would they choose anyone but Trump to run against a Democrat?
I don't know. I have no idea. But anyway, so okay. What we're gonna play a video that was during the debate where it was Beto O'Rourke was kind of actually Anderson Cooper was asking about Beto O'Rourke's I guess mandatory buyback thing about we're gonna take that all the people that were going against me we're gonna take your guns. You're damn right we are. And so they kind of elaborated on that and I know a lot of rightfully so CNN gets a lot of shit, but I actually think even though I wasn't paying attention, as far as I know, did they actually ask quite good questions?
Seemed like it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Maybe it just seemed like, see, we're doing our job, blah, 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 Because
even with the gun question, which you're about to play, I felt like they asked a good question.
Yeah. Well, because I know Elizabeth Warren was getting attacked, and
that's just because she's polling higher.
I was hearing some recap, and some people were saying that she looked razzled, like she was like, where's all this coming from? I can't believe
she just looked like she looked like a razzled old lady, like oh, I'm just an old woman. Why are you attacking me?
And before we start that, the thing that kind of pisses me off about her is every single time, and it's from her own from her own colleagues in her own party are asking her, so are middle people in the middle class, are their taxes going to go up? And
for Medicare for all.
She's like this.
Oh yeah, every single time she's asked that question, she gets around it. And the thing that's annoying is that they may ask her they ask her again, like, well, you didn't answer the question, blah, blah. Yeah. But then after that, they don't press it. They're just like, okay, we're going to move on.
Right.
So it's like, is she getting a free pass here? No one's going to.
Well, I also saw something too that Tulsi Gabbard was trying to ask some questions, and then it's completely.
Oh yeah, she
talked right over her.
She went all around that. Yeah. I don't even know what the point of that was. It's like, if she didn't answer the Medicare for all question, what makes you think she's going to answer the question about pulling out of the Middle East?
Yeah, that whole thing was just, anyway. So we're going to go ahead and play this clip. I'm going to try not to play the whole thing because then I guess Cory Booker goes into some story that I don't know.
I didn't see that part.
The main thing that I want to talk about, or at least have us listen to, and then we'll react as it goes along, is, Beto O'Rourke being asked the question about his mandatory buyback, and then Pete Buttigieg, responding to it
and arguing with Beto.
Yeah. So we'll go ahead and play it here. If I can get it up here.
Get it up. I just need to get it up, people.
All right. So here we go.
In Ohio, where 2 months ago, a gunman killed 9 people using an AR-15 style weapon with a high capacity magazine. Congressman O'Rourke, in the last debate, you said, quote, hell yes, we're going to take your AR-15, your AK-47. But when you were asked how you'd enforce a mandatory buyback, you said police wouldn't be going door to door. So how exactly are you going to force people to give up their weapons? You don't even know who has those weapons.
Look, we're going to make sure that the priority is saving the lives of our fellow Americans. I think almost everyone on this stage agrees that it's not right, and as president would seek to ban the sale of AR-15s and AK-47s. Those are weapons of war. They were designed to kill people effectively, efficiently on a battlefield. You mentioned the massacre in Dayton. 9 people killed in under 40 seconds. In El Paso, Texas, 22 were killed in under 3 minutes. And the list goes on throughout the country. So if the logic begins with those weapons being too dangerous to sell, then it must continue by acknowledging with 16 million AR-15s and AK-47s out there, they're also too dangerous to own. Every single one of them is a potential instrument of terror. Just ask Hispanics in Texas. Univision surveyed them. More than 80% feared that they would be a victim of a mass terror attack like.
Oh, geez. Yeah, it's being slow. Anyway, that whole spiel that he just didn't even answer the question.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Like this is great. Like it's loading. I thought the whole thing was loaded, and then it just decided not to have
the one in El Paso that was targeted at Mexican Americans and immigrants, inspired in part by this president's racism and hatred that he's directed at communities like mine.
Alrighty then.
Do you want to just stop it?
It's
so annoying because I wanted to actually have his words up. But then the fucking thing's not loading.
In El Paso. So I expect my fellow Americans to follow the law the same way that we enforce any provision, any law that we have right now. We don't go door to door to do anything in this country to enforce the law. I expect Republicans, Democrats, gun owners, non-gun owners alike to respect and follow the law.
Just to follow up, your expectations aside, your website says you will find people who don't give up their weapons. That doesn't take those weapons off the street. So to be clear, exactly how are you going to take away weapons from people who do not want to give them up and you don't know where they are?
If someone does not turn in an AR-15 or an AK-47, one of these weapons of war, or brings it out in public and brandishes it in an attempt to intimidate, as we saw.
Come on.
Get to your point, Beto. In any case, he's about to get to the part where he actually answers the question.
We were at Kent State recently, then that weapon will be taken from them. If they persist, there will be other consequences from law enforcement. But the expectation is that Americans will follow the law. I believe in this country. I believe in my fellow Americans. I believe that they will do the right thing.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor Buttigieg, just yesterday you referred to...
Can you pause right there?
Yeah.
All right. So basically what he's saying is that people with guns are going to come and take guns from people who have not committed a crime.
Right.
Basically, right?
Yeah.
But he's also saying that he expects that every American is going to abide by the law just because they've signed it into law.
Well, he's just saying that, we're a nation of laws and I expect them to follow the law once it becomes law, whatever.
So you can just sign whatever law and then you expect them to follow that law, even if it's against the Constitution?
I guess.
And like the part that, like people, I had tweeted about it earlier and people were saying like, well, probably the police and the military or whoever would enforce this. Mm-hmm. Not everybody would be on board with this law, so they probably wouldn't enforce the law.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? Do you think that's naive to think, or
that everyone's just going to obey the law?
No, that that's what the Democrats think, but
if everybody obeyed the laws, there'd be no criminals.
Yeah, no, right. But I mean, I'm talking about like the Republicans or not, maybe, I don't know, conservatives or conservative leaning people. A lot of them say that they don't believe that most of the police force or the military or whoever would be like, I don't know, taking back the guns that won't accept the buyback. Do you think that's?
Oh, you mean like some of the military, the cops don't want to do that. They're not going to follow that order.
Do you think that's probably going to happen, or like enough people wouldn't enforce that law that it would not work?
I mean, I'm sure there would be some of those military personnel or police officers or whatever that would, feel that way. And, but they're going to be given that choice of either, okay, well, you're in this job, you swore an oath or whatever they do. I don't know. Mm-hmm. You promised or, did all the stuff, whatever. So it's either you do the job or you quit.
Do you think people would quit?
I think some people would quit, but I don't know how much. I don't know if it's. I don't know what the percentage would be, but I'm sure there's going to be some who are just going to be like, well, I need, I'm just going to follow.
I need money.
Yeah,
so.
I need the money. I have a family to feed. So I'm going to do all this stuff.
I guess it's kind of like, what's the breaking point?
Right.
Because if that did get signed into law and they did have a mandatory buyback, like what Australia had or whatever, even if it was just for the AR-15, not all guns or whatever, then it would be.
But even then, if it's just an AR-15, what's to stop them? And it's always like this with any type of thing. Well, it's like, okay, well, it's AR-15s and AK-47s. Okay, whatever. What if it's
then it'll be handguns?
Yeah, handguns, whatever.
Yeah.
Then it's the point where you can't have any gun. If you have a gun in your house, we're gonna get it one way or another. Because I can't remember if he said it or because the video is taking forever to load. But he said, well, if you don't give your gun your guns or whatever to us, then the cops are going to give out some kind of punishment or whatever.
Yeah, he did say that.
And I'm like, so what does that even mean? You're basically saying that the cop is gonna you're basically allowed to either hurt or kill the citizen,
for not giving up their gun.
Yeah, or whatever it is. So it's almost like, wow, this motherfucker is basically saying police brutality for guns. Yeah, I'm totally for that. Like, he's basically telling you that without saying it up front.
The thing that doesn't make any sense to me is, like, traditionally, or at least recently, the left has been very against police brutality.
Yeah, I think we're done with the video.
Yeah, it's fine. We can just talk about other stuff. But when it comes to this, it would end up causing more police brutality and more of a police state. Isn't that what they don't want? Because they're more against the police. So wouldn't you think that they wouldn't be for that? Or is it only when it's their issue, then it's okay?
Well, yeah, because the left wants government for the things they like, and the right wants government for the things they like, and or they want. I mean, and both sides can pretend that that's not the way it is, but fuck you, it is. So, because for this buyback thing, and then the right will go and do the whole immigration thing. Well, we need a government to do something about this, and then of course let's say, well, that's an over boundary of. They're stepping their bounds over, with government overreach. And then this motherfucker, Beto O'Rourke, is literally saying, well, the government's going to get your guns no matter what.
Yeah, which is also government overreach.
Yeah, so it's there's that parallel in that intellect, in that, when people say that the left and the right, liberals and conservatives, are the same, are like the branch of the government. Well, there it is. There's your example of a liberal, or whatever the fuck Beto O'Rourke is.
I don't know what he is.
Saying that he's going to basically take your gun no matter what. And if you don't want to take it, or if you don't want us to take it, well, then we're going to take it somehow. We're going to punish you one way or another. We're going to fine you. We're going to,
Seems like a lot of extra, not even just extra work or police brutality, but also a lot of money. If you think about it. That's a lot of extra money.
And he's naive to think, well, I expect, I expect my fellow Americans to obey the law.
Yeah, it's America's I don't know. The culture in America, the gun culture in America is not like any other country. They're not just going to, it's not like how, people were like, well, it works in Australia, so why wouldn't it work here?
Well, that's because it's Australia.
Yeah, exactly.
They're acting like every single country is the exact same thing. It's not like you expect America to be the same as Japan. I mean, we're two completely different cultures. Things work differently there than it works here. Things that do work here don't work there. And then things that work there don't work here, and whatever.
Yeah, because some people cite guns are illegal in Japan and they have almost a zero crime. So.
Zero crime? Well, maybe they have zero crime in terms of guns, maybe because they don't have guns. Well, no shit, asshole.
Yeah, well, but then they have here because not a lot of people had guns to begin with there probably. They don't have to confiscate millions of guns from Japanese citizens.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not the same situation. Plus, they don't have that written into their document, whatever they have, like it is in the Constitution. So
right. Who are people who don't even give a fuck about the Constitution? Say, well, I have a right to protect myself, and if I want this gun, then fuck you. That's my whatever my right is, wherever it's from, God or the Constitution or whatever. I have this gun. I purchased it. I bought it. It's mine. Fuck you.
Yeah. But as far as if they're going off of well, we're in this system and we're going to use the original document,
that
was, then they're not even doing that. So it's kind of like that's the minimum here.
Yeah.
Anyway, do you want to move on to the next topic?
Yeah. So, we're going to kind of move on to a more, I don't know if you would call it controversial topic, because we see a lot of people talk about Hong Kong and what's going on there. And, there's people who are just 100%, free Hong Kong, pro, freedom and all that. And it's like, great. That's awesome. I hope that, that happens, whatever. But I honestly also think that some people are being naive about the whole thing. And I think people say, well, it's just these protesters. They want freedom and all that. It's like, well, yeah. But then at the same time, when like the whole thing started with this, was it extradition bill?
I can't pronounce that either.
It started that the whole kind of thing stemmed from that. Then that thing's done and they're still protesting. Like, what the fuck is going on over there?
Yeah, and like we wanted to look more into the issue, so we had been listening to different podcasts, reading a couple different articles about people who live there, and it seems that the situation there is a lot more complicated than just a black and white, like, free Hong Kong or like for the government of China. It's not black and white.
And one of the things that we kind of, I guess, learned from some people, whatever, like on podcasts, whatever, and saying that, because the corporate press is basically saying, well, everyone in Hong Kong believes that, they should be free and all that. And then you kind of look at other people's opinions or what they say, people that live there, and they say, well, no, actually it's more of like a 50-50 split, maybe. Like, it's not every single person here believes what is going on is, is true or is right. And then also at the same time, it's like weren't some people saying that, well, it's hurting my business because no one's coming into our business to buy things?
Well, not only that, but a lot of the protests are happening in areas where people are like, what do you call them? Like blue collar workers?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Like, like the working class, basically.
Yeah.
A lot of the protests are occurring around those areas, preventing people from getting on trains or going to work or doing their job. And a lot of people are not happy about having their regular life disturbed.
Right.
And also a lot of the protesters are pretty young, and they know what they don't want, but they don't necessarily know what the end game is.
Yeah.
So that's why I feel like it's a lot more nuanced. And like a lot of the things that they were talking about, things that they want, is related to like economic prosperity.
Yeah.
Similar to what, other people protest in other countries.
Right
now. So.
Yeah. So one of the things that we wanted to kind of talk about with this, because we've been kind of hesitant to talk about this because
it seems hard to get like, I don't know, balanced news on it, I guess.
Yeah. And so I don't even know if this source is.
Yeah. Disclaimer, this may not be balanced either.
So I looked at this article because it's very interesting to kind of look into it, but the U.S. House, that's America talking about what's going on over in another country, okays Hong Kong Human Rights and Democracy Act as Beijing strongly condemns move. And so it says the bill will require the U.S. to determine if political developments in Hong Kong justify changing the city's treatment as a separate trading entity. And it also says Beijing accuses U.S. lawmakers of political plot to hold China back. Hong Kong officials expressed regret over passage of act. So even people who are in Hong Kong are saying, I don't know if I want American involvement in this.
Well, that's because, I'm sure the economy is taking a hit.
Yeah.
From these protests. And we were listening to, I believe it was, what is it called? Moderate Rebels?
Yeah, Moderate Rebels with Max Blumenthal and Ben Norton. Yeah.
And I know some people will say, oh my gosh, those guys are left-wingers.
Right.
But they did bring up some interesting points in their podcast regarding this. And they did bring up that some of the billionaires who live in Hong Kong were initially for the protest because they don't want that, how do you say that word? Extradition
yeah.
bill. Yeah. So they would not want that to happen. But now that the protests have continued so far, it's ending up, making them lose money. So now they're against the protests. Yeah. So it's kind of weird how that all plays into
like
it.
At first they're like, yeah, this is great. And they're like, oh, fuck. Actually, no, we changed our mind, right?
Yeah.
So to kind of read into the article, it says, Beijing has accused American lawmakers of a political plot to thwart China's development after the U.S. House of Representatives approved legislation that could pave the way for diplomatic action and economic sanctions against the Hong Kong government. The lower chamber of Congress on Tuesday backed the Hong Kong Human Rights and Democracy Act of 2019, moving it a significant step closer to becoming law. The bill, which Beijing considers an attempt to interfere in China's internal affairs and contain the country's rise, passed the House on a voice vote.
So I'm not exactly sure what's in the bill, but what they're doing is they're recognizing Hong Kong as a separate trading entity.
Yeah.
Does that necessarily mean that they're recognizing them as a different country, or not really?
I don't know, because, well, like as far as I know, like Hong Kong and like mainland China basically kind of, obviously it's like one country, but it's two complete, like, well, not
two
complete,
systems.
yeah, two
well,
systems.
What they've been saying, like, if you look at the history of Hong Kong, they've been separate in a way from China for, more than 100 years.
Yeah.
But they've kind of been, okay, so they used to be a colony, and then when their colony status was not renewed, they're saying now is that they're one country but two systems. They allow them to have their own government system in Hong Kong,
right,
separate from China. And what a lot of people were worried about was with the extradition bill is if the Chinese government would have like power over the Hong Kong government.
Yeah.
The one thing that was in that bill that didn't really get talked about a lot was that it would be up to the discretion of the Hong Kong courts per case of what would happen. So it's not like China gets complete control over whatever happens in that situation. Anyway, move on.
So reading further into the bill, it is a bipartisan support here. So it's not like one party is supporting it, the other one's not. It's bipartisan. The bill would strengthen the Hong Kong Policy Act of 92, which the U.S. government uses to assess whether political developments in Hong Kong justify Washington changing its treatment of the city as a separate trading entity from the Chinese mainland. It awaits a vote in the Senate, where it currently enjoys the bipartisan co-sponsorship of 25 senators and is expected to pass.
So this is recently, right?
Yeah, I believe so. Yang Guang, a spokesman for the Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office of the State Council, which is China's cabinet, said it expressed solemn protest and strong condemnation over the passage of the act. This kind of behavior has grossly interfered in China's internal affairs and is openly adding support to the opposition forces and radical forces in Hong Kong. He was quoted as saying in a statement, "It has exposed the political plot of the U.S. House of Representatives and some politicians to use the Hong Kong to contain China's development."
Now that's from a Hong Kong official?
I believe so, yeah.
Interesting.
He said the turmoil in Hong Kong had intensified because the U.S. had sided with the anti-China chaotic forces in Hong Kong. He called on the U.S. to halt the bill. And then further into the article, without U.S. intervention, Hong Kong will be more prosperous and stable, he said. In a lengthy statement responding to developments in Washington, the Hong Kong government expressed regret over the passage of the act. It said the government had implemented one country, two systems principle fully and successfully in accordance with the basic law, the city's mini constitution. The statement issued on Wednesday also warned foreign lawmakers they should not interfere in Hong Kong internal affairs in any way. So basically, you need to get the fuck out.
Yeah.
Let us handle our own situation, which is interesting. And there's also a part too where Yeah, in the article here, it says the House on Tuesday also approved the Protect Hong Kong Act, a bill that blocked the export of crowd control equipment such as tear gas to Hong Kong authorities, as well as a resolution to recognize the city's bilateral relationship with the U.S. and condemn the interference of the People's Republic of China in Hong Kong affairs. And of course, Nancy Pelosi is applauding this passage of the act and is criticizing those who side with Beijing for fear of jeopardizing their economic interests. To those who want to take the repressive government side in this discussion, I say to you, what does it profit a person if he gains the whole world and suffers the loss of his soul? So
I mean, we don't have to read the rest of it, but it's a pretty long article. But I do believe that the South China Post, or the South China Morning Post, which was the article that we just read, is actually considered still in Hong Kong more of like a anti-Beijing thing, which is interesting because that article seemed pretty balanced.
It seemed like it. I mean, it basically kind of paints a picture that, like how I was saying before earlier, where the U.S. corporate press is basically telling you one thing, and it's just this one thing. Please trust us, because it's so weird how they criticize the mainstream media for a lot of things, but then for other stories, like, oh, see, 100%, this is true. I'm going to take it for the face value, So, and I always knew when this stuff was coming out, I always knew, I was like,
me too.
This can't be just 100%. This isn't just protesters, going out in the streets and yelling for 24 hours, however long. I mean, I'm sure that there are some of the people who are legit, like, I want this to be a free nation, I want it to be like that, but it's not, it can't be it's not everybody. Yeah,
I guess like our point here is, because we're not saying that we're like pro-China.
Yeah, because if people saw this or they saw our take, they'd be like, you guys are taking you're not taking the right side.
Yeah, you're not 100% free Hong Kong. So
like, what's wrong?
Pro-China.
Like, yeah, what's wrong with looking at like each side and kind of just being like, well, I hope everything works out. I mean, I really do. I hope things work out.
Yeah, and like it's always. Okay, I had a few points that I wanted to make. One is, it's always weird when like everybody in our government is like bipartisan on something. That's weird to me. I'm like, okay, what's going on here? And then also I think the protesters have good intentions. They have things that they want done in their country. They have legitimate concerns that they want addressed. But I just wonder, like, where is this protest going, and do they know what the end game is? That's it.
I don't know. I mean,
and like the whole support from the U.S. government thing, I wonder if that interferes with what they're doing. You know what I mean? And that's all we're saying. So. Yeah,
it's just another one of those examples of America, the American government, I should say, just putting their nose into everyone's business.
Yeah,
kind of being like,
and it's kind of
something smells fishy over here. Let us fix it because we know best. That kind of thing.
I mean, I am for like I feel like if Hong Kong wants to be its own country, then they should gain independence from China. But if not everybody is wanting that, then that also should be like taken into consideration. Like if they're actually a split nation, like their city is split on that, then that's something that should be covered in the press and not just painted as that all of them are like that.
Right.
So I just feel like it needs to be more fair.
Yeah.
Which probably isn't going to happen, but
yeah. But even in the article it was saying, well, Hong Kong it's the one country, two system. I can't remember what it was worded exactly, but that whole, we're all one country, but we're living in two different systems. It's working just fine for us.
Yeah. That's my other point. It was working for Hong Kong before. It was working for China economically.
Yeah.
So China doesn't really have like something to gain by like, trying to take control over them more or anything like that. And it's interesting to me that the U.S. government is very interested in this situation because it's like, who benefits in this situation?
Yeah.
What do they have to gain from being involved? So that's kind of all that we wanted to bring up.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of libertarians, like a lot of my friends, are 100% like pro Hong Kong,
and that's fine. Like we're not.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
But I just want to bring that question into people's mind, like who benefits?
Right. So we do have a super chat that we want to showcase because it is a question, and I don't know if we're going to be able to answer it, but so we're going to do our best. But anyways, from Patrick, and he gave us $5. Thank you so much for the support. Really appreciate that. But Patrick says, can we trust the Hong Kong government since they tried to pass the extradition bill? Sorry, we can't pronounce that word. We're terrible.
It's dumb.
Yeah. So, what do you think? Like,
well, I think he brought that point up because in the article that we were reading, the official who they interviewed was, from the Hong Kong government.
Right.
So I'm not sure if we could say that we could trust what they say, but I also wouldn't trust our government either.
Yeah.
So,
well, yeah, because all the lies that they've been saying, with with all the wars that we're in,
especially with the stuff in the Middle East, like, that's just like ridiculous.
Right.
But like I said before, I just think that people need to think about like who's benefiting from this situation, who's benefiting from being involved in this situation. I don't know if you could trust every source that you read, but if you read a couple of different angles of every situation that's going on, then maybe it would paint like a better picture of what's going on.
Right. Yeah. And I think it's healthy to kind of always have one eye open when it comes to what the government's telling you, because obviously they have their interests and they don't, they're not going to care about anyone else's
the
interests.
government, anyone in the government is human too, and they're all out for their own interests.
Right.
And with a lot of these like protests worldwide, and because I know we're going to talk about this later, but like with the Yellow Vest protests and everything, with some of this stuff, it's kind of like none of it's really black and white, even though people want it to be, because then it's easy to pick a side. But a lot of this stuff is so complicated that unless you lived there, you wouldn't know necessarily what they're going through.
Well, there was also another thing that I wanted to bring up real quick before we move on, is the like the petrodollar, and how that's some angle that could be kind of like, maybe that's, because the whole because the yuan or whatever it is,
the petro yuan is rivaling the petrodollar right now, and
America's like, oh shit, we got to do something. Oh my god.
Yeah, there is that whole aspect of it too, and like people know, China is allied with Russia, and Russia wants a pipeline through Syria, and U.S. wants a pipeline through Syria too. So I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but something to think about. Yeah.
So again, just to kind of reiterate what we're saying, we're not trying to criticize anyone who's free Hong Kong or anything like that. We're just trying to bring up
some unanswered questions.
Yeah, unanswered questions, other angles to kind of keep your eye open, to kind of be like, okay, that's an interesting point, something like that. Because like I was saying before, I was always very hesitant to always mention anything about Hong Kong on the show or even on Twitter or whatever, because I just knew that there had to be something more to this than that, than what the corporate press is telling everyone.
And if you are really interested in this issue and you haven't heard the other side of it, then I would recommend listening to the Moderate Rebels podcast, because that's where a lot of this stuff that we're talking about kind of triggered what we're thinking.
Yeah. So. And so, to move on from that, to move on to another group, like you briefly mentioned, the Yellow Vests. No one's talking about it. Like they've
been protesting for like a year now, and it's still going on, if you can believe that.
They've been talking about. They talked about it for like maybe a month or so. I don't know if it was that long.
Well, it started last November, right?
Yeah.
And it's been going it was covered in the media like the first month and maybe like in through January, but then it kind of just
everyone just kind of just forgot about it, because I guess the Hong Kong protests started happening. I can't exactly remember the timeline of all of it.
Well, I mean, it's the 24-hour news cycle, like new stuff is happening all the time. So in the United States, there's a lot of things that we had to focus on for some reason. I don't know. There's a new outrage every day. So,
This is great. I'm like trying to hit this thing.
Yeah, we need to get ad blocker. This is not working out.
And it's not letting me.
Oh, no. Look at this. Okay, sorry.
Oh, it says, no thanks. I prefer fake news.
It's the Washington Times. They're not going to let us read this article.
No, I think I have to click it. Maybe it'll let me go.
This is us being a professional podcast right now.
Oh, what the hell?
Nope. It said you have to sign up.
I was just. Oh wait, hold on. Wait. Okay. Whew. Sorry.
What are they talking about? I prefer fake
news. No, you know what's
news.
funny? That didn't pop up until just now. Like literally, I had this article. It was fine.
Well, they were like, "Oh, well, you're live streaming. Well, fuck you.
Yeah,
I'm gonna make you."
Anyway.
So
for this article, it's about the Yellow Vest, and the title of the article is "Our Anger is Stronger: Yellow Vest Protesters Gearing Up for Massive Anniversary Resurgence."
Look at that picture. I'm sorry, but look at that picture
of Macron.
Yeah.
Macron. So again, I'll try and say this brief. But I think it was November 17th was the,
is that
I think that's the anniversary for it. Yeah. You have to,
they wouldn't say the anniversary right at the beginning though.
Yeah, I know, right?
I'm surprised.
But the whole thing, if I remember correctly, the whole thing started because of an increase in gas tax, right? It was
That's correct.
Yeah.
They upped the gas tax, and people were like, "Well, you can't afford to do things now." So, especially people who like own farms and stuff.
Mm-hmm. So of course, a lot of the protesting, I guess, has kind of dissipated according to this article. So it says much of that early energy that, when it first began, everyone was all like, wear yellow vests and protests. And then I guess a lot of it's kind of dissipated, and crowds have dwindled at yellow vest events, and public support has plummeted. According to this article, just reading off the article. Still, some analysts insist the yellow vest's continued presence, no matter how small, is meaningful in itself. It is far too early, they say, to write off the movement. We have a bizarre situation where it is still there, according to a political science researcher. And he noted that the Yellow Vests still have managed to stage public protests on 47 consecutive Saturdays.
I mean, that's really impressive.
Yeah.
So.
So the Yellow Vest protests, obviously named for what they wear. It began, like I said, last November. So the anniversary is coming up. In response to a hike in fuel taxes that demonstrators said would fall disproportionately on rural residents and those in the provinces who lack access to public transportation. And then they quickly grew to a wider anti-establishment movement demanding lower taxes on the poor, higher taxes on the rich, and better public services. And then, of course, President Macron's his approval range plummeted because of this.
Yep.
And then I'm pretty sure he was like, okay, I'll stop these tax hikes and all that stuff.
I mean, it says there that he introduced a bunch of reforms in response to the protests up through April. But they wanted very specific things. I don't remember. There was a list of things they wanted, and so they kept going.
Okay, so it's likely to be on November 17th when Yellow Vest will officially mark the movement's 1-year anniversary. It's really deep into the article. I don't know why they didn't put that in the beginning, but anyway. He expects the turnout to be similar to what it was during the height of the movement, when more than 280,000 people across the country participated. That's crazy. So of course, one of the reasons that they were saying, kind of going out of the article was that people were just kind of tired of the protesting. But now, because the anniversary is coming up, it's going to resurge, and at least they're expecting it to resurge. So, I mean, as far as we know, it might be a failure. I don't know.
It could be. I mean, if I knew the anniversary was coming up and I had come to the first couple protests, I probably would come to this one. So.
But that's kind of an interesting thing to kind of talk about, because everyone's minds are on the Hong Kong protests, and that's great.
Yeah, the media is not covering this as much. I mean, maybe because it's been going on so long, but
but I mean, the Hong Kong protests have been going on for a while too. It's not just months, it's not just been going on since a couple weeks ago. It's been, like you said,
I mean, who knows though? Whenever something more important comes up, maybe they'll stop talking about it.
Yeah, well, I mean, they stopped talking about Jeffrey Epstein. Nobody knows. Nobody
I know.
talks about that anymore.
What about that, huh? That just disappeared.
Yeah. this went off the face of the earth. It's a lot of big news stories go like that though. After about 3 or 4 days.
Kind of sucks though, because that's like one of the most important things that happened this year.
That was like a big conspiracy theory or whatever, some kind of unsolved mystery. Yeah, some unsolved mystery, and now no one gives a shit.
Yep. Although I think Mike Cernovich was still going through some of the unsealed files, so
yeah,
I don't know if anyone like watched that live stream. I didn't watch it, but I did see that he was talking about it, so maybe he's still going through them.
Yeah. So. Yeah, there's those protests, but also there's another group of protests that have been happening in another country.
Which is so weird because I hadn't even heard of this.
Yeah.
At all.
It's one that I have seen a couple of news organizations talk about it, like kind of, talk about it a little bit, but nobody in the corporate press that I know of has mentioned it at all. I've
only seen it on libertarian things, to be honest.
Yeah. But anyway, so these protests have been happening in like Spain and Catalonia.
Yep.
So in this one, it's from Reuters, and protest against separatists sentencing sets Barcelona streets ablaze. Protesters set cars on fire through petrol bombs at police in the Spanish city of Barcelona on Wednesday, intensifying unrest sparked by the sentencing of Catalan, sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, separatist leaders who had sought to declare an independent state.
Didn't they? This was like a couple months ago, but I think didn't they like have a referendum to try to leave, and then it was like split, so they didn't.
I think so. Yeah. Divisions over a drive to split the northeastern region of Catalonia from Spain roiled the country in 2017 and resurfaced on Monday when the Supreme Court sentenced 9 politicians and activists to up to 13 years in jail. Police said Molotov cocktail, petrol bombs, and acid were thrown at officers. In some places, police charged at protesters and fired foam projectiles, Reuters witnesses said. So it's just interesting that, these protests are happening because they want to become their own independent nation, or maybe I'm reading into it wrong, but I don't know. But again, nobody's really talking about it. The Catalan people and all Spanish society must know that the government is considering all scenarios. And that's from the acting Prime Minister, Pedro Sanchez. He added that the government had set up a special commission, including the National Intelligence Agency, to advise on how to manage the situation. And it's funny, too, because as far as I know, I don't think anyone actually supports this. Sanchez will lead his Socialist Party to Spain's second election this year on November 10th, under pressure from right-wing parties to be tougher on Catalonia and take control of the region's security forces. Sanchez must impose direct rule on Catalonia, said Albert Rivera, leader of Liberal Party, Ciudadanos. Sorry, I'm probably way off on that. Yeah, I know, right? Can't read it. I can't read any other of these. But it's just interesting to see that, I read somewhere in here because I was reading it. I don't know exactly where it was, but let me see. Oh,
it's interesting right there.
This one right here. Okay, so Isaac Grania, an 18-year-old student, said he thought protesters had burned containers because peaceful protests since 2012 had not achieved their goals. Making noise is the only way to make people pay attention to us. If Spain were a democratic state, people would not be jailed for wanting a vote.
It kind of like reminds me of the other protests, because even in the Hong Kong protests, people were like, okay, how can we provoke the police in a way that they're going to attack us because it will attract more attention? And then with the Yellow Vest, they're like, okay, let's just start causing all this damage because it will get media attention. The weird thing is, though, is that this hasn't really gotten much media attention internationally, or at least in the United States.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. There's a lot of countries that are kind of like trying to split, I guess, because it says also here that since Torres' predecessor, Carlos Puigdemont, held a referendum banned by Spanish courts. Catalonia has been closely watched by other European countries where there are also movements for independence, such as Scotland, which I'm pretty sure there was a vote to do that. Like there was some kind of vote in the UK or something like that to have Scotland be. I can't exactly remember. I'm probably way off on that, but
I don't know anything about that.
But yeah. So there's these protests here, that are happening, but like you mentioned before, there's no press on it other than Reuters, on online or whatever like that. But you don't see this on CBS or NBC, Fox News, CNN. But I don't know. It's interesting to kind of see all that stuff. But yeah, we strongly suggest you look more into those situations and those I guess those events and kind of just I guess learn more about it is what we're trying to say. All right, so almost at an hour. Well, now we're kind of going to more lighter news, some more.
Yeah, we normally don't go for an hour. I guess we went off on tangents.
Yeah. Well, we haven't talked about the Hong Kong thing at all. So we had a lot of things we wanted to talk, say. So anyway, our first piece of weird news, well, I don't know. I guess it would be called weird. Is more sad, actually.
I read the headline. I was like,
okay. North Carolina assisted living facility workers accused of running dementia resident fight club.
Yeah, really.
So obviously they didn't follow their first rule of the Fight Club is to not talk about it.
Oh, I've never watched that movie, so I don't know.
So 3 employees at a North Carolina assisted living facility were arrested after police said they ran a fight club with elderly residents with dementia battling it out against each other.
I'm sorry, but that's not funny.
Like,
but
can you this? Now you're like, now people are going to be imagining 80-year-olds being like.
Well, actually, it says a 70-year-old versus a 73-year-old.
Wow.
Okay, I'm just wondering, how do they get them to fight? What do they tell them? The 73-year-old woman stole your breakfast this morning, and then the person doesn't remember because they have dementia, and they're like, oh really? And then they start fighting. I don't know.
Maybe they told them, hey, if you do this, we'll give you such and such amount of money.
Well, you wouldn't care if you're that old.
Well,
really?
I don't know. So
yeah, that's pretty ridiculous.
Documents from the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services show that during the filming of the fight, one of the combatants was heard yelling, "Let go, help me, let go," as the 3
this is terrible
people that were apparently
they were filming it.
Yeah.
What are they gonna do? Make a YouTube channel for old people fighting?
I don't know. But I mean, I guess they were bored and they're like, hey, we're gonna try and you want to get these 70-year-old people to fight? Sounds like a great idea. We won't get in trouble. There's no cameras in this fucking building. Yeah, why not? And then there's a camera right there in the corner.
I know. And they're filming it too. Dumbasses.
Oh yeah, that's right. They were filming it. Wow. They're filming it themselves?
Yeah.
Man, how dumb are you?
I'm gonna just film my own crime. This is great.
Oh God. All right. So it's I don't know. It's so sad though, because you have these 70-year-old women or whoever just
fighting it out.
So dumb. All right, so we're gonna move on to a Florida man story. We try to do one of these once a week, one a week, I should say.
Yep, and then we got Florida Man Friday on Twitter.
Florida Man Friday. So yeah, for this one,
this is the dumbest.
This is
okay. It's not the dumbest.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so the headline reads: Florida man calls 911 to say roommate stole his weed. Yeah, very smart.
Yeah, and I read through the article, so you don't have to read the article.
Oh, okay.
And apparently he kept calling the police department several times to let them know that his roommate stole his $20 of weed. And the sheriff even said, stop calling here.
You know what's funny? They were telling him about the weed, and the cop was like, "Please stop calling me. I don't want to. I don't want to.
I don't want to
intervene in this shit."
He's probably high, even though he stole his bag of weed.
Hey, man. Hey, cop.
He stole my last bag of weed.
It's really
good.
It
was $20. I want my $20 back.
I wonder if he asked the cop if he wanted some. Cop was like, "Oh, that sounds like a good idea."
Yeah, right.
I'm gonna have some of that weed myself, and then I'll take it, and then I'll arrest you, and I'll take your weed. Because that's how cops do. They do, they do dirty shit.
Literally.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
And they also take dirty shit. It's very bad. How do I know this? No clue. All right. So the last thing that we're going to talk about, and then we're going to leave. You can go on with your day.
It's nighttime.
Yeah. This one's definitely weird news, like 100%.
This is like the definition of weird news.
Yeah. And this is how like sometimes it's weird because like when she'll post pictures, whatever, even I post pictures, I'm like, I gotta make sure nothing's being shown, or,
so that people can't find us and stalk me or whatever, right?
Yeah. So in terms of stalking, obsessed fan finds Japanese idol's home by zooming in on her eyes.
Yeah. Apparently she took a picture in front of her house with a high resolution camera, and the reflection of her house was in her eyes.
Jeez. So Japanese idol Aina Matsuoka was attacked outside her home last month after a fan figured out her address from selfies she posted on social media just by zooming in on the reflection on her pupils. I mean, that's like super dedication right there. Like, I'm going to find that lady.
Yeah, I know, right?
I'm going to find her.
I feel like the moral of this story is like, don't take selfies in front of your house, please.
Or if you're going to post things, do it like much later than where you're at, because
or like,
hey,
blur out your eyes.
Yeah. Hey, I'm at such and such place. Come find me. Unless, I guess you have a gun. You're not worried about the type of stuff, I guess. I don't know.
It still causes problems, though.
Oh, yeah, you're right. The fan, Hibiki Sato, managed to identify a bus stop and the surrounding scenery from the reflection of Matsuoka's eyes and match them to a street using Google Maps. Thanks a lot.
That's crazy. Like, can you imagine like how much work you'd have to do? That's like some dedication right there.
I know.
That's creepy.
Sato had even approximated the story Matsuoka lived on based on the windows and the angle of the sunlight in her eyes. See that right there?
It's like,
this motherfucker really liked this lady.
But why did he attack her though?
I don't know.
If you like the lady, then why would you attack her?
Oh, is this video?
I don't know. I don't really want to play that.
Oh, that's another one. Oh,
okay, so she reached. Oh God. Okay, it looks like he was gonna. Oh my God. Sorry.
She had just reached her door when Sato approached her from behind, covering her mouth with a piece of cloth. He dragged her to a dark corner and molested her, injuring her face in the struggle. Sato admitted to the attack after he was arrested on September 17th and revealed that he was a huge fan of Matsuoka. So what do? You molest her and almost kill her. Yeah, that's how you show you how much you love someone.
Well, I guess he was a little bit too obsessed with her, if you know what I mean. He's like, I needed to touch her.
Fans of J-pop groups have called for better protection of female idols after several high-profile stalking and assault cases in recent years. Well, yeah. I mean, look, he could have killed her, if he really wanted to.
I mean, if he didn't want her to talk, he probably would have just killed her afterwards or done something crazy like, if nobody can have you. Or, no, wait, sorry. If I can't have you, then nobody can. Like
yeah. Some people have that mindset. It's terrible. Like, I mean, I don't know. It's just weird how people can just have that mindset of, I really like you. So how I'm going to show you that love is by molesting you and putting a cloth over your face and hope you don't breathe and die.
And then attacking you.
Yeah. I mean, people have really, really strange ways of showing their affection to people. Like extremely, like, I don't know, it's so stupid. Like, what is wrong with you? It's like that, that movie Perfect Blue kind of thing. That one guy.
I know it. I've heard that title. What is?
We watched it. Remember?
Which one?
It's about that idol.
Oh yeah. Oh, that was a weird movie.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's crazy. It was a really good movie.
That movie made me depressed. I was like, I don't know what's wrong with my brain now.
Mm-hmm.
That's the kind of stuff that you like, though.
Yeah, but only in that type of thing. In real life, it's
well, obviously, but I mean, like, But you like movies that are like don't always have a happy ending.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I want a happy ending. That sounds so bad out of context. Okay, let's just.
I didn't even get the like what you were trying to say until you started.
I think there's something wrong with me. Why did I think of that immediately?
I don't know.
All right, let's just go.
All right. So again, thank you so much for watching and listening. Hope that I hope this was a happy ending for you and all that good stuff. Again, if you want to support us, please support us. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and rate, comment, subscribe to our podcast. Share it. That'll really help us out a lot to spread our show and to have more people listen and all that stuff.
For some reason.
For some reason. And again, all the links for all the things that if you want to support us are in the description below. Again, thank you so much. We will see you in the next one. Goodbye and have a nice night.
Have a nice night.